Welcome to the world of silkworm farming. In this video, we will take a closer look at the intricate process of raising silkworms, also known as mulberry silkworms, and the traditional method of producing silk in Japan. From feeding the silkworms, a diet of fresh mulberry leaves, to spinning cocoons, and finally extracting the silk fibers, we will explore the hard work and dedication that goes into this ancient craft. Let's begin our journey and discover the beauty of Japanese silk. Silkworm eggs are obtained from a silkworm breeding farm or from a supplier. They are often obtained from specific breeds of silkworm that are known for producing high-quality silk. Silkworms are generally of two types: mulberry silkworms and airy silkworms. Mulberry silkworms are most commonly used for silk production, as they are easy to raise and produce high-quality silk, while airy silkworms are raised for their long fluffy cocoons and are used to make warm clothing and blankets. The eggs can be obtained from the suppliers and it need to be stored at around 15 degrees Celsius and a relative humidity of 75% to 80%. The eggs are placed in a warm and humid environment for about 2 weeks to hatch. This environment is typically kept at a temperature between 25 to 30 degrees Celsius and a humidity level of around 70%. The hatching process can take anywhere from 10 to 14 days. Once the eggs are hatched, the small caterpillars that come out are called larvae or silkworm. The silkworms are placed on trays topped with fresh mulberry leaves for them to feast. The trays are placed in a warm and humid environment. And now, silkworm larvae embarks on their journey to the awaiting farmers. Freshly delivered larvae are then properly nestled by the farmers. Then a special net is used to limit the larvae's movement, so that they can only focus on eating and growing. At this stage of a silkworm, mulberry leaves are chopped so that they can consume it with ease. It is then served to the awaiting larvae, but farmers ensure that they do it gently, so as to avoid harming the fragile worms. Silkworm farmers in Japan typically begin by preparing the mulberry trees for the silkworm breeding season. This involves pruning the trees and removing any dead or diseased leaves to ensure that the silkworms have a healthy food source. During the breeding season, the farmers will handpick the freshest and most nutritious leaves from the trees and bring them to the silkworm breeding facility. The leaves are then carefully sorted and cleaned to remove any dirt. The farmers will also check the leaves for any pests or diseases that may harm the silkworms. Silkworms are also fed fresh leaves daily, and as they grow, silkworms are moved to larger trays. Silkworms go through 5 developmental stages before they reach maturity. During this time, silkworms are kept in a controlled environment to ensure optimal growth and health. Temperature, humidity, and nutrition management are critical for good growth. Temperature range of 25 to 30 degrees Celsius and relative humidity of 75 to 80% is considered optimal, along with maintaining cleanliness, to avoid diseases and viruses that may harm this valuable caterpillars. Once the silkworms have reached maturity, usually after about 25 to 30 days, they spin cocoons around themselves using silk thread that they secrete. So before that happens, they are transferred to a special section tray, so that no silkworms will overlap each other. The spinning process takes about 2 to 3 days to complete. The process of a silkworm creating its cocoon is a complex and fascinating one. It begins when the silkworm, or larva, is around 2 to 3 weeks old and has reached its final instar, or growth stage. At this point, the worm begins to spin a silk filament using glands located in its head. The silk filament is made up of 2 main proteins, fibroin and sericin, which are secreted by the glands and then solidified by a process called spinning. The worm will spin the filament for several hours, creating a cocoon that will eventually encase its entire body. The cocoon is typically made of one continuous thread of silk, which can be several hundred meters long. The silk thread is secreted from the glands and is pulled out of the glands by the worm. The worm uses its mandibles to hold the silk thread and its prolegs to guide the thread. The silk thread is smooth, strong, and elastic. The cocoons are then harvested and stored in a cool, dry place. Cocoons are usually harvested at around 10 a.m. in the morning as the silkworms are more active during that time and the silk thread is tightly wound. To obtain the silk thread, the pupae inside the cocoons are killed, typically by boiling them. This process is called reeling and it kills the pupa inside and preserves the silk thread in the cocoon. This step is considered an ethical concern in some countries, and alternatives like cutting the cocoon at one end to take out the pupae before reeling is also practiced. Many countries now are adopting cutting methods to avoid killing pupae, but this leads to less silk yield as cutting leads to breaking of silk thread. And the rest is done by this giant silk thread machine, which does a lot of things, from reeling, which means the silk fibers are then reeled off the cocoons, a process that involves unwinding the cocoon and winding the silk fibers onto a reel. Cleaning and degumming. The silk fibers are then cleaned and degummed, a process that involves removing any impurities or residue from the silk. Dyeing and finishing. The silk fibers are then dyed and finished, depending on the desired end product. The silk thread is then reeled off the cocoon. The reeling process can be done by hand or by machine, which process can yield up to 900 meters of silk thread from one cocoon. Silk thread reeled from one cocoon is usually not strong enough for commercial use, and it's usually combined with other silk thread to increase strength and improve. And there you have it, a detailed journey through the process of sericulture, the art and science of raising silkworms to create the luxurious fabric we all know and love. From the delicate hatching of the eggs, to the feeding and care of the silkworms, to the expertise and skill required to reel and weave the silk, each step plays a crucial role in the creation of this beautiful, soft and elegant fabric.